Things are up there to do. Let's get her done. First thing we do on a Monday morning is each room that animals are in has a chart. So this was last week's, so we have to change it to this week's. So that would be one thing that you have to do on each of the rooms that we have. It has all the information, if they're fed, all the care, what was done, so that everybody knows what is going on with the animals in each of the rooms. So let's go in. So as we go into each room that have animals, depending what it is, what you're looking for is to make sure, A, if it's a tank, the water isn't leaking all over the floor. That would be bad. And you make sure that filters are working and things like that, that the lights are on, different things like that. In this room, we happen to have some interesting little critters. There's some oysters that they're doing some research on. So they don't need much care, but still have to make sure that the tank isn't leaking and that the filter is actually working. As you can see, it is. Here's some little critters. These are hermit crabs that we take care of. They were also in a class, so you can see, you want to make sure that they're all doing okay and that they have food and water and that they get refed. Okay, in this room, have a bunch of aquarium. Again, also make sure there's no water on the floor. That would not be good. And here we have some crayfish. That's pretty cool. And then over here, we have some male Siamese fighting fish, which you will see a real one in a little while. And we have some zebrafish zipping around. And that would be the food that I need to feed them. So these would all just make sure, again, that the tanks aren't leaking. Okay, so it's always important to keep the chart updated. So I fed the fish, and you'll put a check mark, and I fed the crayfish, so you would put a check mark. This way, everybody knows what is going on in each of the rooms at any given time. Okay, this is a pretty big animal facility. It's actually broken up into 2 sections. So let's go see what's in these rooms. Okay, in this room we have a professor working with black convex fish. So this entire room has all the same species of fish. They are all black convex, and they're in a bunch of different size tanks. They're all different sizes, and here we have little tiny baby ones. And then over here they'd be like a little bit bigger. And then in this area we have these giant 125-gallon tanks. And these guys are kind of big. So again, you're gonna walk into the room, always checking, making sure there's no water on the floor, none of the tanks are leaking. That none of the fish, unfortunately, might have died. You don't want a dead fish to stay in the tank because it will mess the whole tank up. So this is the convict room. You can see also you have to make sure the lights are working. And also, again, these tanks have filters. So you'd want to make sure that it's spinning. So that would be another thing to do. And they all get fed. And water changes are done once a week. So in this room, we have some really cute little babies. First of all, you would throw the dirty leftover food that they didn't eat. You would throw that away. And then in here, you have to find them. But there's these little tiny baby box turtle hatchlings. Eastern box turtles. And they're just too cute. And I always put them in the water just to make sure that they're getting enough water because they're still kind of little yet. So they're hiding here. There are 3 of them. Oh, there we go. Just chilling out. One of the most fun rooms that we have is a room that we have red-footed tortoises that live in here, and they actually live on the ground. And one of the fun things is to spray it down because they are turtles that do kind of like it a little bit tropical with a little humidity. So if it gets too dry in here, they won't be so happy. So they get like an indoor rain shower and they love it. See, as you can see, they like to sit in the water. And they have some entertainment there. They like to push it around for enrichment. So we always just wet it down a little bit, get a little shower and stuff like that. So, and there's heat, and that one bulb is just like the sun, so they are sort of getting sunshine as they're inside. So this is one of the fun rooms. Later on I will come back and feed them, which is what all the vegetables are for. And these are Russian tortoises, which you'll see one. Actually, I brought one with me, so you'll be seeing one of those. But they also get a little sprayed down because it does get dry with the heat bulbs. So this is kind of fun. They like it. Well, all right, maybe they don't like it that much, but they do. Other animals that we have here are birds. We have an aviary outside, so all the birds are currently outside. But she does bring some in occasionally to do further studies or watch their behavior. So if there were birds in this room, all these cages would have to be cleaned and the birds would have to be fed. So this might be another thing that you need to be doing, but right now the cages are empty, so I will show you the outside. Okay, so this is an extension of the animal facility, another room that leads to the outside where we have our aviary. And this is like a really nice area that you get to take care of because it's outside. So in the spring and summer, it's gorgeous. It's a little chilly in the winter, but we made sure that the birds are protected from the cold wind and stuff. So we put up plastic to keep them a little protected. So let's go inside. We keep it locked just for the protection of the animals so that no one follows them. Okay, you can see here we have plastic, but normally the cages would be all open all the way around. But right now we're utilizing 3 cages, and they have numbers on them. So you can see the plastic wraps all the way around the whole back. And then it goes to the side. Also, we have given them heat lamps so they could sit on the perch there if they want to warm up a little bit, if it gets a little too chilly. They could just kind of hang out there, and their waterers are actually plugged in, so they will not freeze. The water will not get frozen because birds need to have fresh water. So one of the things to do in here is to make sure there's food and water on the bottom. These cages all get hosed out. We try to do it at least 3 times a week, but weather permitting, because if it's too cold, we can't use the hose because it'll just freeze. So all these cages would get hosed out, and fresh food and water would be replaced. As you can hear them, they're very excited. They're waiting for spring. They can't wait. They are brown-headed cowbirds. And I will show you the other area outside that we have here. These cages are all locked, but the cages are within a big cage. So if a bird was to get out, we could still, we have big nets and we could catch them so that they don't get on the outside because we don't want to lose them. The area that I'm walking to now is where the big red-footed tortoises that you saw in the room during the summer, spring and fall, they would be out here walking around, and in that hole right there. That would be a big tub where it's like a big bathtub for them, and they would be all sitting in there. So right now, it's cold, so they're inside because they don't do well because they're a tropical turtle. But we do have, the pond stays running all winter long because it has a waterfall, it doesn't freeze. So right now there's some goldfish in there. But we also we have box turtles out here. And yes, we know it's winter, but since the box turtles live around here, they hibernate for the winter. So we have built an enclosure where all the turtles are buried, and they bury themselves in here, and they're all sleeping. So believe it or not, underneath all these leaves, there are 13 eastern box turtles all taking a nice, quiet nap for the winter. So as soon as it starts getting warmer, you'll see them start popping up, and then we take them out of here, and then they would be walking around this entire animal enclosure here. It's all fenced in, It also has wood along the edges so that the turtles can't dig out, so we don't lose any of the little guys. And it's fun. These little log piles also have like little lizards that run around, but they're little houses for them to go and hide in. So this is a really fun area when it's warm out and the plants are growing. Another area that I take care of are the 2 display tanks. We have one here in the lobby in Gittleson Hall, which contains, at the moment, some pumpkin seeds and some crayfish. You can see them hanging out down there. Oh, there's one up there hanging out. Oh, it's hard to see, sorry. You can see them hanging out. So we always make sure they're doing okay in the morning. This is a 150-gallon tank, so it's a lot of water. Our other tank here in the lobby near the biology office is our friend Bowie, the American lobster. And he looks good. And we just check to make sure his tank is good and everything like that. So later on we'll be feeding him. That's always cool, but he is very cool. Okay, so we're getting ready to feed the tortoises, and we got all our fruits and vegetables out, and their dishes are lined up. So, time to make a salad. So we have the first layer done, all the greens. Okay. These are tortoise salads. This one has a little less fruit because that's for the Russians, and they like more greens than fruits. Now we just top it off with little vitamins, just like you may take. They need vitamins, especially because we're keeping them inside for the winter right now, so they don't get the sunshine quite as much. So a little sprinkling of vitamins, and off we go. Okay, here we are, ready to bring this down to the turtles that are in the room. We use the cart for a lot of stuff. We got to carry food. We can't do that, so we use a lot of equipment when we work with the animals, especially protective equipment. As you can see, I have my gloves on. You always wear gloves, and you always be sure to wash your hands when you're done. And when we get to the room, I'll show you another piece of protective equipment that we use. Another piece of equipment that we wear would be these, and these are booty or shoe covers that we put on our shoes because the dirt where they walk in, they also, go to the bathroom in, so we don't want to track that out into the hallway, nor do we want to bring anything from our shoes in there. So that we put on, and we also have these face masks when you're cleaning because it gets a little dusty. You don't want to bring that in. So you always make sure that you're wearing protective clothing for anything that you need to do. And so here we go. They look like they're hungry. So here we are. Open the door. You have the food. They already know something's on the way. So we just bring it in. The redfoots, they get 2 dishes of food because there's so many of them that we don't want them to be fighting over the food. So I put one out. Let me go get the other one, which is on our cart. You can see them running over there. All right, got the other one. Sorry about that. See how they would all be piling up. It'd be hard for them to all get something to eat. So instead, oh, come here, buddy. Wake up. We'll put you in. We'll have 2. So see, this little guy's like, maybe I'll just go to this dish because it's a little easier. You can hear them crunching and eating. They love this. So that's the Russians. I'm sorry, the red-footed tortoises. And now for the Russians. We put them, they're in a tub because they're a little smaller species and we don't want to mix them in. That was the other reason why they are in a separate tub. So now they're hungry, so they're gonna eat. And if you look real close, you can see the white powder that is sprinkled. That was the vitamins that I was talking about that they get. Bon appetit. Next, we'll be feeding the electric fish, and they require live worms. So you can see, we keep these in the refrigerator, but you can see that they are actually alive, so that we have to keep them clean, otherwise the food will rot and that won't be any good. And we also feed them frozen bloodworms, which they come in these little blister packs, but they're frozen, and then you just pop them out. So let's go feed some fish. So we are back into the room with the electric fish. And we're about to feed them. I wanted to point out too that you'll see bubbles in the tank. Those are important for oxygen. So we always have to make sure that the air is working. There's a big air tank blower in a different room that feeds the entire animal facility. So that's something else that we need to look for to make sure that's working. So let's feed some fish. So what you do is we have an eyedropper and we pull in some of the worms like that. Yummy. And then what we do is we literally drop it in. Oop. And you can see he's pretty hungry. And they don't see well, but they have electric senses, so they know the food is in there. So that would be how we feed the live worms. I'm going to show you these fish because they're really cool. They're called elephant noses, and you can tell why they call them elephant noses because they have an elephant-like nose, and they love their worms. So you may say, well, how do you know which feed? So some of them like the frozen and some don't. So what we do is everything has a feeding chart. And if the tape on the tank is blue, then you know they get frozen. And if it's red, they get like double the amount of live, and yellow gets a single. So there's a lot of bookkeeping and record type of things that I have to do to make sure that everybody knows how to take care of everything. So here we are going to feed, this one has blue tape, so obviously we have our worms, and we will just plop one right in there, and it will float. Ding. And once it starts melting, they will come up and eat it. So here we have another one. Just pop one out. See, he's already kind of waiting. They kind of already know. Animals are pretty smart. They kind of get a pattern of, oh, when the top moves, it's time to eat. While we're in this room, you'll notice that we have a lot of equipment, so you need to have a lot of knowledge on how to keep the water, test the water to make sure the water is perfect for the fish. Everybody likes it a little different. And then you always have extra stuff because it breaks, and filter cartridges. So there is quite a bit of equipment that's needed to maintain the fish tanks, and you need to know how to use it all. There's some rooms that don't have any animals, but this is like a room that keeps everything we need to take care of the animals. We have a washer dryer because we have towels that get dirty, so that has to be clean. We have a giant cage washer or dishwasher where we put the stuff in to get clean. We also, this is the room that has the RO water. It's special water that's filtered very, very clean, so that we can use it to fill the fish tanks. And of course the giant sink where we soak things and clean things. We have a sprayer. So need to know how to keep everything very clean. And we also have like extra cages and things like that. So there is just a lot of equipment and a lot of stuff to know how to use. So now we're back into the big fish room that has all of the black convicts, and it's time to feed them. There are some that are so small, the babies, they can only eat really tiny food. So they get actually baby frozen brine shrimp. And it's really tiny, and it's frozen, so that makes it easier for them to eat. So I'm going to show you how we do that. Okay, we literally plop it in. And as it melts, the little guys will actually come up and start to eat it. Of course, they're being uncooperative at the moment. But as it's melting, you can't really see it because it's so tiny, but they are finding it and eating. So they get, the babies get the frozen, and I'll show you what else we feed the bigger ones. Actually, this is a better tank. You can actually see how they're going up. They already know something's gonna go on. So what you do is you plop in the baby brine shrimp, because these guys are little, and you can see how they eat it. Bon appetit. Okay, Okay, now the larger fish, we give them little pelleted food. And as you can see, they already kind of know the jig is up and they want to eat. So, this is how we feed them. Let's see. Love it. Whee! Okay, so here we are with the bigger fish. So bigger fish, bigger food, but still pelleted. So we're gonna give them, they're waiting. In this room, I want to also mention that, just like people, animals can get sick. So you have to look for the signs of a fish that might be sick and know which medication you could use to help them. And we'd put it right in the tank. So that's something else you have to look out for with the animals, that they look well, and if not, you have to know which medicines to use. We're getting ready to feed Bowie the lobster, and he just loves fish, which we get frozen. So we just have to make sure we defrost some of them and take a couple off. He just loves his fish. Bowie also loves something else, shrimp. So we keep them in the freezer chair. So this is getting ready to defrost because we don't want to feed him frozen food. It will float. So once it's defrosted, we'll go upstairs and feed the lobster. So here we are going to feed. You could tell he's like hungry. This is Bowie, the lobster. So let's give him some food. You ready? Okay, so we have the fish. Sorry. Sorry. And we lift up, lift up his collar. There we go. See? He's like, woo!
Ready.
Oh, missed it.
He knows you're coming before you put it in the
Yes.
tank, right?
As soon as you stop banging the tank, he's coming. He knows it's there. Of course, no. He'll find it.
Yeah.
Or not. I'll steer him this way a little. This way. Of course, the one time. So I gave him another fish, and he's carrying it around like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. He'll eat it later. Okay, here we are at the lobby tank, and these guys get prepared fish food that floats, and they are eagerly awaiting. So let's feed some pumpkin seeds. And of course, the leftover pieces that float down, the crayfish will eat, because they are scavengers. So he has found a little piece to nibble on. This guy's just chilling out up there. Oops, see a piece of food fell. They'll find it. Okay, here we are ready to feed the birds in the aviary. First you put in, we have this Bronx Zoo Diet, which we made with a bunch of dog food and stuff like that. It's ground up. It has a lot of protein for the birds. So we'll put a scoop of that. This is in their treat dishes, and a little bird gravel, because they need that. They pick up little rocks and stuff while they're eating outside, and it helps them digest their food. Then we have freeze-dried mealworms that we put in. Normally, I would be also putting in live mealworms, but at the moment, we just happen to be out. They're on their way. So I will be feeding that to them tomorrow instead of today. Okay, they also get Birdseed. It's a special mixture of parakeet and canary, and it's mixed together. The kind of seeds, they're not parrots, so they don't eat peanuts or sunflower seeds, so they get a nice fresh dish. The green dishes are always for their seed. We try to keep track of which is a seed dish, which is a treat dish, and in the summer and spring they have another dish that we put out just for water, and they bathe in it. But it's been too cold for the winter because it'll freeze, so we don't do that. So here we are outside, and today is pretty cold, so we're not going to hose it down, but they need to get fed. So we're going to go inside and grab their dirty food dishes and seed dishes. Always making sure to lock the door because you don't want the birds to fly out behind you. And just pick up their dishes and bring them inside, and we'll replace them. See, like that. This is also the bird water, which we will be replacing. Got to mention, this is another area that we wear shoe covers, because we're actually stepping in the bird cage where they go to the bathroom. We don't want to track that all inside, so we'll wear these shoe covers, and we also wear these little hair nets in our hair. Oops. It opens up. Let me show you. See, it's a hairnet. It goes over your hair, so in case they are flying around, you don't get birdseed and all that mess in your hair. And of course, gloves are a must. Here we are going to fill the waterers. Usually I do this with the hose, but today we're not going to be using the hose as it's pretty cold out. So we just clean the top. And we're gonna fill it up. Water is actually filled from the bottom. So we fill it up. And flip it up and hang it right back up. Right, guys? Fresh water. Okay, so here we are back at the cage and dishwasher, because we took all the dirty dishes that were from the aviary, and we need to make sure they're really clean. So we have this giant dishwasher of sorts, so we'll put them in there and turn her on. Okay, so you can see, whoosh, bunch of stuff to do today, and this is done. But guess what? Tomorrow we do it all over again. So I hope you enjoyed your little visit here. I wish you could have came in person, but just a little thing of what we do, just to show you. This is my office. So this is where I do all the logistics, planning, printing out stuff, so everything. And I also have my own little friends here and stuff. So it's kind of cool. Love animals. You have to really love animals to do what I'm doing. And you also need to know a little bit about a lot of things. I'm not a veterinarian, but you just need to know, because you never know what new things are ever going to come into the facility at any given time. So you kind of have to do a lot of research and stuff like that, different animals, and just be prepared. So hopefully you will, if you're interested in animals, this might be something that you might like to do. And that is the animal facility.